Joining me now with more is Francesca Chambers, White House correspondent for USA Today. Francesca, great to have you on the show. And as we await this market open, what is your takeaway from yesterday's inauguration?
Well, as you said, no universal tariffs yet. He also previewed those 25% tariffs that he had said earlier in the transition that he could put on both Canada and Mexico. He said that he would do that prospectively on February 1st. So giving a little bit of time there for both countries before he enacts those 25% tariffs that he now says he's looking to put in.
In terms of what this means going forward, Francesca, what should our viewers be prepared for?
Well, it's a question of whether it's a negotiating strategy or something that he actually plans to do. Now, it is, again, one of several times that he said that he'll pursue tariffs as part of his trade strategy. But as we know, what he is upset about is immigration. He's also upset about fentanyl. And so it's a bargaining chip in many ways for his administration to try and get both nations to take actions on those items. He signed a deluge of executive orders on his first day, some of them directed at immigration.
So let's walk through those executive orders and what the president did do yesterday, his first day in office for his second term, Francesca.
I think one of the things that your audience is probably interested in is the TikTok executive order that he signed, giving a 75-day extension for the company to try and come to an arrangement that suits the federal government. Now, what he means by the United States having a 50% stake in TikTok is still unknown. And he even said during his press conference in the Oval Office that he's not sure that that is something that China would go for or that ByteDance would go for. How exactly that would work, we don't yet have the details of. He unveiled that less than 48 hours ago at a rally at Capital One Arena.
And in terms of his cabinet, we did see Marco Rubio confirmed as Secretary of State yesterday. What do we anticipate from the rest of his cabinet picks in terms of their own confirmations?
Today on the docket is Elise Stefanik, who is his pick for United Nations ambassador, and he has had several of his other nominees, including Pete Hegseth, who he's picked to lead the Department of Defense, make it through committee votes as well as committee hearings, but they also have to get approved by the full United States Senate. Marco Rubio was approved 99-0 yesterday. I wouldn't expect that for Trump's other cabinet nominees. Marco Rubio is a former senator. He resigned to take the position of Secretary of State, and he is someone who served on both the Intelligence Committee and the Foreign Relations Committee. As far as senators, including Democrats, are concerned, he was an establishment pick, very qualified. They have questions about some of Trump's other nominees for the cabinet.
Of course, we know that Davos is underway in Switzerland as we speak, dubbed typically as a gathering of the global elitist. We did see at the end of last week the World Economic Forum announcing that President Trump will be joining the meeting virtually. What does that signify?
Well, business will be on the top of his mind, and it is certainly something that we've seen throughout the transition as he has met with various individuals during the transition at Mar-a-Lago. He said that he's spoken repeatedly to Tim Cook of Apple. We saw at the inauguration ceremony yesterday that Mark Zuckerberg was one of the tech moguls there. Elon Musk has had a close relationship with Donald Trump during the transition and will lead his Department of Government Efficiency. And we saw during the first Trump administration as well that Trump worked with business and had those leaders over to the White House from time to time. And so we would expect to see that continue in the second Trump term.
Even though the president said that he wasn't ready for universal tariffs yet, we did see him say that tariffs are on the way for Canada and Mexico. Is that a negotiating tactic, Francesca, or do you anticipate that those based on the president's rhetoric really will come to fruition?
Well, it's unclear what he'll end up doing because one of the executive orders that he signed directed his administration to take a look at tariffs and trade practices, not just for Canada and Mexico, but also for China and other countries that he said had a fentanyl problem with fentanyl coming into the United States. So he's looking at a range of things. What he ultimately ends up doing, we just don't know yet.
Rubio, I mentioned earlier, confirmed as Secretary of State America's top diplomat and the first Latino in the job. What do you think Marco Rubio is going to bring to the table in this administration, Trump's second term?
Well, in addition to the experience that he brings as United States Senator, having been in the Senate for 14 years, and also as someone who ran for president himself, remember, against Donald Trump in the 2016 Republican presidential primary, he is someone who has a lot of experience in Latin America, and Trump advisors believe that that will be useful in the administration. There's been a lot of focus on the wars that are taking place between Russia and Ukraine, as well as what's taking place in the Middle East. But he is someone who will also be focused on China. He's seen as a China hardliner, and he'll also be focused on Latin America.
To that end, Francesca, we did hear early on yesterday during the full day of events that Trump again pledged to take back the Panama Canal, and part of that had to do with China. What's at play there?
Well, Trump is concerned about the potential for Chinese influence in the canal. Now, he has said that China controls the canal. Even Marco Rubio testified at his hearing that China does not control the canal, but it's about the influence potentially of Chinese shipping companies that they're really concerned about when it comes to that. Now, how he would retake the canal is not yet clear, but at his confirmation hearing, Marco Rubio suggested that one way they could go about this is by trying to say that the treaty by which the United States gave the canal to Panama is in violation, and try and go about it that way. But it's certainly a legal issue that the administration says would have to be looked at.
What is next for former President Joe Biden and his wife Jill Biden, who we saw officially depart yesterday?
He's on vacation in California right now. Usually presidents, after they leave office, they set up a presidential library. Joe Biden hasn't said yet where he plans to set that up. Well, what was unique about yesterday is that Vice President Kamala Harris also went to California after she left office. So both the president and the vice president left for California immediately after that inauguration ceremony.
A warm vacation sounds nice on what is a bitterly cold day here in New York, and I know throughout the country, especially the Midwest as well. Francesca Chambers, thank you so much for getting up early with us and joining us on NYSE TV Live. Francesca is a White House correspondent for USA Today.